from Southern Maryland's weather leader. This is a JB Weather Report.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Forecaster John Bordash here with you to give you your Thursday evening update on the potential winter storm this weekend. You know the drill. If you can hear me fine, let me know in the comments before I get too underway with this. While I wait for those comments to come in, and assuming you can hear me, and I see Brandy says that she can hear me, which is awesome. If you want the full forecast in one spot and don't have time to sit through this presentation or at least part of it, you can head over to the link in the description. Which will take you over to my preliminary outlook for this storm. You can also head over to jbweather.net for that. We've been experiencing some website performance issues today since that post has been so popular. So it might take a good 30-45 seconds to load, but you should get there. And if it doesn't work, just come back in like 10 to 15 minutes and it should work. But we, I think, have a lot to talk about. I want to start you off with the 7-day forecast. I see Michelle's already asking what's expected for Cobb Island. Tomorrow looks to be our last seasonal day for a little bit. We're then going to look at cold air and cloud cover moving for Saturday, which will set the stage for our storm on Sunday. You can see that Sunday temperature up near 46 degrees. Yeah, how are we going to be looking at a wintry mix? And how do we go from 28 one day to 46 the next day? I'll talk about that here in a second. Winds pick up Sunday and Monday. Behind the storm, Monday morning, we look to turn quiet for much of next week. However, cold air comes back in by the end of the week, and we might have another storm threat to talk about late next week. It is far too early to talk much about that, though, aside from putting little snowflake icons on there. So that's kind of where that sits right now. But let's get right into it here for you. Here's going to be our setup at the surface. We have an area high pressure that builds in throughout the day tomorrow and really gets established in our region as we head into Saturday. At the same time, we have an area low pressure that is right now moving onshore out towards the Vancouver, Canada area. It's going to develop into a system, bring a stripe of snow across parts of the upper and lower plains, and then head down towards the Gulf Coast by Saturday. At the same time, that system is moving on down. We have an area high pressure. It's getting set up. It's going to be bringing us very cold air for the day on Saturday. And Saturday looks dry. You have any travel plans on Saturday? I think you're going to be A-okay to get out there if you need to get anywhere really along the East Coast. I think Saturday is going to be the day to do it. I did have a question earlier about someone whose parents were traveling down to Florida and were planning on leaving on Sunday. And my suggestion for that is you want to get down to Florida really by like Saturday. You want to be where you need to be on the East Coast by Saturday evening, especially like for the Southeast. Up here in the Northeast, we have a little bit more time, and we'll detail that here more in a second. These are some of the feels like temperatures we could have in the region on Saturday morning. Look at that. I mean, feels like temperatures that are down in the single numbers for many of us, even below zero on up towards Aberdeen. I think northeastern Maryland and over then towards the mountains, we're talking about some of the coldest numbers. And we're going to be very chilly throughout the day on Saturday and as we head on over into Sunday. Here's going to be the track I think that we're looking at this storm to take, right? It's going to redevelop, and if I can come back a few slides here, let's walk you through this systematically. The area low pressure gets down to the southeast. It's going to bring snow for parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, North Georgia, the Carolinas. Carolinas are actually already under a winter storm watch from this. That area low pressure is then going to turn its way northward near the spine of the Appalachians. It's going to reform an area of low pressure that will be in southern parts of South Carolina. And as we head on over here, that's then going to track on up near our region, passing likely right over our region. As with any storm, areas north and west of the storm track will be the coldest locations. Those will be the areas that will stick around with the snow and the wintry weather the longest. On the southeastern side, you're going to be a little bit warmer because you're looking at a southerly flow that's bringing up moisture. And in this case, we're looking at a strong fetch off the Atlantic, a strong moisture fetch off the Atlantic. Those orange arrows are representing that warmer air. We're talking temperatures in the 40s and 50s getting wrapped around the center off the ocean and off the bay, which will impact our weather here in southern Maryland as that storm continues to track north and east. Let me take you on over to the Futurecast. Let's time this out for you. Let me show you how Futurecast is handling this. Brought to you by Chesapeake's Bounty. Let's bring you on over. There we go. Here is Futurecast for Saturday evening. And again, like I said, you want to be where you want to, if you need to travel along the East Coast this weekend, you want to be where you need to be really by Saturday evening. While our region is clear, we're already looking at this system bringing an area of rain down towards the southeast, some snow on over towards Memphis. As we put this into motion here for you, you can see that rain changes to snow on over towards the Charlotte metro area there in North Carolina. As we near midnight, our region is still looking clear. We might even see a decent period of icing down here in the Carolina foothills, anywhere from Columbia on up towards Raleigh. I would really be concerned about. But that area low pressure, you can see it comes along just south of Tennessee, and then we get that new area low pressure. Look at how that new circle forms, right? So we're looking at that new area low pressure to form as it begins to turn up the coast. As we go right after sunrise on Sunday, our region for the most part is looking clear, but we already have wintry weather beginning to push on in. Now that area high pressure on Saturday isn't going to be sticking around long. It gets established on Saturday, and it lingers into Sunday morning. We will be chilly Sunday morning. I think lows likely get down into the 20s for most of us. However, that area of high pressure, which is kind of represented by this circle up here, it's moving eastward. It's getting out of here. So while that will lead to some cold air damming and pooling right up along the Appalachian Mountains, which could be beneficial for southern Maryland snow lovers, I don't know if it's going to have a staying power here as this area low pressure works northward with that warm fetch off the Atlantic. Putting this back in motion, though, our Futurecast has preset moving in right around the lunch hour. Let's zoom in on in. And because we would still be plenty cold, temperatures at this point in the day likely in the upper 20s, lower 30s, this likely starts as a period of snow for most of us. And I do think we see snow to start with. However, we can see that rain snow line is not far off. It's already trying to come across the bay. So how long is this period of snow? That's a question we don't have answered just yet. Is it a quick transition over to rain? Is it a longer transition over to rain with more snow? Or do we see a shorter amount of period with snow, but we still have a decent period of maybe a wintry mix? Those are all questions we still have to get resolved. But our model here does keep us as snow. We're now getting close to 3 o'clock, a good couple of hours of snow, maybe some more moderate snow. They always say you find the heaviest snow right up along that rain snow line. But then that quick eventually here, as we get near sunset, gets us near that rain snow line. But this model definitely a little bit more aggressive. Again, puts down a little bit more snow in our region, but that area low pressure is working northward. And you can just see as we zoom out that strong moisture fetch here off the Atlantic. You can see that stripe of moisture coming from the central Atlantic curving right up into our region. So that's how this system is going to have so much moisture with it. So let's go ahead. We're going to put this back in motion here. So that rain snow line does eventually work into our region. Even areas west of I-95 could be getting in on that transition over to rain, staying snow well out to the west as that area low pressure comes near. One thing that I am tracking this evening as a potential is as this system develops into an anticyclonic feature, it could be dragging in some dry air into it, which could mean that you can see this almost here, this little bit of a dry spot where you think there'd be precip. That could help cut down on rain totals that would otherwise be kind of high. We're talking over an inch if that doesn't happen. If it does, that'll be cut down. And this model here has that rain getting out of here by Monday morning, maybe some back-end flakes for some of you. I never really buy in on this solution. Models tend to overdo the potential for back-end flakes. And even if you do see it, it's not that much. But then, it's all out of here as we head towards sunrise on Monday. So that's how Futurecast is handling it. What is my forecast calling for? Let me bring it back on over here. This is the way I kind of surmise that. So that Futurecast run, that's not my forecast. That's a tool I'm using to make my forecast, and we're using other tools, other models, which we can get in here in just a little bit. I think we're looking at mostly snow from I-81, so from Hagerstown to Winchester down towards Harrisonburg, points west. Mostly snow. And it could be heavy snow. I think if we're talking about anyone saying double-digit snowfall, it's going to be in that blue zone. If you look in that purple zone, you're looking at a decent amount of snow in that region, but even there, that's going to be going over to a mix and then a rain. And that's from I-95 to about I-81, the Blue Ridge Mountains. So any interest in northern parts of Maryland, central Maryland, southern parts of Pennsylvania even, you're dealing with that. From I-95 to about the Bay, I think we're looking at some snow in that region. We saw it on the Futurecast, and I think that has the right idea. I do think we see some snow here on Sunday afternoon, likely accumulating snow, but that looks to go over to a mix and then to rain. Our Futurecast model and a lot of our other models aren't right now putting too long of a period where we could see a transition of sleet and freezing rain before we get to plain rain. Could that change 100%? Do I think we have big icing issues in our region? I don't think so, but we're still sitting 3 days out, so I think that could still change. In areas on over towards the east, looking at mostly rain. Another big story here, we're talking those gusty winds, and these will really be ramping up Sunday afternoon and evening. As that storm comes up the coast, we saw that strong fetch of moisture being thrown into the mid-Atlantic. That comes with gusty winds, and that's going to be an easterly wind right off the Atlantic. Our Atlantic-facing beaches, Ocean City, Rehoboth, Bethany, Cape May, down towards Chicotee, Atlantic City up in New Jersey as well. Those areas could be looking at some pretty high wind gusts getting near 50, 60 miles an hour. In our region, we could be looking at 30 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts. So just because we're not likely looking at the bullseye of snow in our region, that doesn't mean this is going to be a low impact event. Yes, we go over to rain, but it's a wind driven rain. And I think this could cause power outages across the region. This gives me a lot of concern, especially for our coastal communities here. I'm thinking North Beach, I'm thinking Calvert Beach, down towards Solomons, down towards Scotland, St. George Island, Cobb Island, a lot, Hollywood, almost the entire region really, I think, has this threat. And this is something I'm watching. Not only could we be talking about a potential for power outages, we could be talking about the potential for coastal flooding that could be a little bit more than just an inconvenience. We could be talking about moderate coastal flooding for some of our regions. So if we were to put all this together, here's my current outlook. Again, it's a little too early still to talk about a snow, ice, wind potential, and hammering down numbers. I'll do that for you tomorrow. So this time tomorrow evening when we're talking, I think we'll be able to have stuff over there. If I had to put a guess on it right now, that snow potential is likely not as high as the wind potential. But in our region, we're going to call it a medium overall threat. A lower threat on up towards the coastline where you're likely just talking about a wind-driven rain. But once you hit I-95 points west, you're talking about a high to a very high impact on out towards those regions. That's where you're looking at a lot of snow. Now, let me show you our European model. A lot of people want to know what the European showing, and for good reason. It's a pretty good model. Not the best. Well, it's probably one of the best ones. I try to reserve that though. So let's take a look here. So this is our European model. Where Southern Maryland, well, Maryland as a whole is right in that circle. So that's where we're looking. This is a look at the eastern half of the U.S. Let's put this in motion though for you. Through tomorrow, not much is going on. You do see this little bit of an ocean storm out here that's moving up into the Canadian Maritimes. I'm not really worried about that for our region. Maybe we have extra waves for our Atlantic beaches, but I think that's about it. But what you're going to notice is this area of snow on over towards Iowa. That's diving down, getting here towards the Gulf Coast. That's developing an area of low pressure. That's going to be our initial storm system. And if you were looking closely at the same time, you see this high pressure up here getting established. What that high pressure is doing is that it's driving down cold air. That cold air is then going to get bottled up here right along the mountains, along the Piedmont and coastal plain. How long that cold air stays is going to be important to our forecast, and will be important to not only figuring out how much snow and how long do we see snow, But if we see an ice threat, and there is the potential here for us to be looking at an ice threat, the reason being this area high pressure driving down cold air. Cold air is heavy, it sinks down to the ground. This area low pressure, we already noted when we get this track that's going to come right over our region, it's going to drive up warm, moist air, which will ride over top the cold air. It will eventually take over the cold air, but it will take some time. Think about when you throw an ice cube out into your yard on a 70-degree day. It doesn't melt right away. So while that transition is happening, while that process is happening of warming the entire atmosphere, it's a column of air that's very dynamic. What we're going to potentially see happen is that any snow we see could go over to a period of sleet and freezing rain before we get to that rain. And this is also what we would refer to as an overrunning situation, where the warm air is overrunning that cold air. But let's put this back in motion here for you. You see that area low pressure really getting going, bringing snow to North Georgia on over towards the Carolinas. Again, this area is under a winter storm watch. And look at this, it puts out a pretty hefty ice potential down here in the foothills of the Carolinas and on over towards North Georgia. And that's happening because that warm air is running northward while that cold air is diving southward. So that's what we're looking at there. This model, this is 10 a.m. This model still has the precip pretty far away from us. Our European model looks to be a little slower than our Futurecast model. Area low pressure begins to develop down here along the coastal Carolinas and then begins its track northward. We're now transitioning that area of heavy icing right here in parts of North and South Carolina. Any interests along that region need to be taking precautions already. We know there's going to be heavy snow and heavy ice down there. This model, let's zoom it into the mid-Atlantic now, is beginning to move snow into our region. This is 4 o'clock, this is 7 o'clock, so it has a decent amount of time here with snow for our region. The heaviest snows are going to be found out here in parts of northern Virginia. Our region, we can see that rain snow line is coming mighty close to our region. How quickly does that come in? We need to figure that out. This model continues to hold us as snow, but that area low pressure is already beginning to track northward right towards the Richmond area. One thing I'm watching this evening, though, and this is a really minute meteorological detail, so I'm sorry if this confuses you, but I'll try my best to break it down. Do you see this little bit of a circle out here? That might be our European model trying to hint at the potential for maybe a coastal low to begin to develop instead of this low that's over Richmond. If that were to happen, and I'm not saying it's likely to happen, but if it were to, that storm track would then move out here, and that places us on the northwest side of this solution. While we would still warm up, that would be a potential that could lead to some winter weather. So snow lovers, and I don't want to say ice lovers, but that for those people that are interested in winter weather, that could be your potential to see more snow or more whatever. If you're not a fan of that, you don't really want that to happen. Our model then takes that area low pressure right across our region, but it doesn't get that rain snow line that far north too quickly. It still keeps it on the DC metro area before, the model is a little weird here. Look at what it's doing. It's taking our area low pressure from right off a drum point, and it retrogrades it back here on out towards Frederick, Maryland. Is that possible? Sure, with a negative tilting trough. However, what I think could be more likely, you see the circle that's still out here we were just talking about? That could be that coastal low trying to form out there, which again would lead to a more wintry track. But that rain snow line would look to move to the north and west, eventually getting out of here. So that, I think, is the potential. I think, and I can bring up yet another... I think I need to come over here, and then I need to bring you up. I think and I'm not going to put numbers on this just yet, where are you likely looking at all snow? Where could the snow be the heaviest? I think your heaviest snow is going to be right into this region. I definitely think that's where your heaviest snows are going to be. So it's going to be parts of south central Pennsylvania. That's really going to be almost following I-81 points west. Where do I think you're going to have mix? And where could you see some moderate accumulations? Probably from I-95 points west. Aside from that, where could you see some light accumulations? but you're still seeing snow, but you go over to rain. I think it's going to be that region. This is kind of what I'm thinking. And someone noted yesterday when I did this, it looks like a hot dog, and it definitely does. But I think this is kind of what you're talking about. Our region right now, it looks almost likely that we're going to go over terrain, and it looks almost likely that we're not going to see the bullseye of this. The bullseye of this storm, even if it's not as far west as I have it pegged, I think it's still west of I-95. It's very difficult for that to come over our region at this juncture. What I can show you is, without showing you the actual totals, where our model guidance is currently, again, showing you where that bullseye could potentially be. Let's move it on out here. So this is how our model generally kind of shows you what's going on with snow totals. The brightest pinks and whites, that would be your heaviest snow. It gets that snow line to our region, and you do get that accumulating snow. This won't be like last Monday though, and it probably won't even be comparable to last Friday. We could see maybe, accumulating snow. Again, I don't want to put numbers on it. I think you're looking at more of a plowable snow, and I guess that's kind of weird to say because in Maryland we plow for almost anything. But several inches probably. Again, I-95, it's going to be points west. And then you're seeing that heaviest snow coming up here from Roanoke up through Cumberland, Maryland, near Hagerstown, on up towards Johnstown State College, just to the west of Harrisburg. So that's generally what we're talking about. You're also going to see heavy snow. Let's erase that. You're going to see heavy snow down here into the Carolinas. Our model shows here this region seeing a lot of snow. It's shown there in those purples. I think that a lot more of this is ice. You're probably looking at this region, maybe like a 3 to 5 inch snow event, which is just about their seasonal average. You're going to find the highest totals in this region, though, out here towards the Carolina Mountains, Asheville, that region. Whereas in the Charlotte metro area, you're likely looking at ice. A great resource if you're looking for North and South Carolina specific weather would be Brad Penovich. He does great work. He's a TV meteorologist out in the Charlotte metro area. He's been doing it down there for years. He has really great content that I also look at, just because I think it's interesting to figure out what's going on in other parts of the world, right? But if you have interest on there, he's a class act forecaster, and I would definitely rely on him for updates. But I think that gives you a good idea kind of where we're at right now. What I'll do is I'll come back here, and we'll come over and answer some of your questions now that I've talked for a good 25 minutes. And see what's going on. So if you have any new questions, you can put them in the chat now. And for those of you that are going to be joining us tomorrow and on Saturday, the best time to put those questions in the comments is when I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. Put your comments. I would reserve them for this point, assuming that you're watching still from the beginning of this video. And hello, Jennifer. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting, I think. And I posted this earlier on the Facebook page, but the Climate Prediction Center is favoring our region to see, as a high likelihood, to see below average temperatures as we head through the 8 to 14 day period. So I think we're keeping this cold air around. I think we're keeping the winter weather threats around. And Johnny's saying Romney, West Virginia, you're going to be in one of those bullseye locations. I think you could be looking at a double-digit snowfall. And I want to push it further north. Yeah, if you're not a fan of snow, yeah, you want it to go further north. What I will say, though, is, and I can draw this out for you because this is a good point to make. Again, there's a give and take with everything. Let me bring it back on over here. The further northwest this storm tracks. So let's say this storm, is out here and it makes a track like that, right? Even northwest of DC. That is going to increase our wind threat and decrease our snow threat. What I want to show you, and I can even show you here on this program. Let me bring up base reflectivity for you. Let me turn the model layer on. That's model overlay, model fill. Let me bring you back here. What I want you to notice with this storm, here's your storm pressure. Do you see how this looks like a comma? That's a typical storm. That's a textbook storm structure, a comma head. What that's doing and we illustrated this in one of our earlier graphics, that moisture fetch, you see it's coming from the deep tropics and it's getting thrown right up to the north and west. At the same time, like we talked about, you have that cold air diving in from the north. What that does, the way you're able to get this strong of a, or when you get this strong of a moisture fetch, you're looking at gusty winds. If I bring up our sustained winds, look at that. I'm going to bring it back over here. Look at where that heaviest rain is. And I think black might be the best color to do this. Your heaviest rains are right in this region. I'm going to show you the winds at the exact same time. Look at that. That is a strong northwesterly wind here. The wind, I think, is being underplayed a lot, and not a lot of people are talking about it. And maybe I'm overamping it, but our model data here, where you get these purples, and these are sustained winds. Actually, what might be a little better, let me show you our actual Futurecast model here. And I know, again, I'm going on a tangent. My apologies. But I want to show you wind gusts here. So fill wind gusts, and I want to make sure that I want to get us over to this because it helps us to kind of see what's going on a little bit better. So let's get us on over to the 16th. We'll just say 7 o'clock. So there you see that comma head. Look at those winds just piling into the coast. Our model has wind gusts nearing 50 miles an hour as this happens. And out here in the ocean, you got wind gusts up to 70. I don't think we'll see that here. Winds are always the highest over the open ocean. You very little friction out there. But we're translating that wind energy right into our region. Wind gusts 30 to 50 miles an hour. Winds will be the gustiest up along our Atlantic-facing beaches. So the further northwest this storm tracks, the less snow we see, but the greater wind threat we're going to be looking at. Conversely, if we have the storm tracking further south and east, we're diminishing the wind threat, but increasing the snow threat. So you have a trade-off there. And both, I don't think, bear well for impacts. I think you're looking at a high impact situation either way. And this wind potential, it's even going to be felt up here in parts of Pennsylvania, where you're going to have that bullseye of the storm up here in western PA. I mean, look at this. Well inland, our model is probably overdoing it, but it's bringing wind gusts upwards of 60 miles an hour on over towards Lancaster and Berks County on over in parts of Pennsylvania. So, yeah. Keep that in mind. Let me come back up here. Cassie wants to know about Baltimore. You're likely looking at a period of snow out of this, but that likely goes over to mix and rain over there. Don, a little too early to kind of detail totals. You could be looking at a double-digit snowfall towards the Shenandoah Valley. And thank you, Tracy. As my own boss, I write my own paychecks. So I might just need to give myself a bonus or a pay raise after this winter. We'll see. Let's see. School bus trip to DC through 5 p.m. Yes, Cindy, that sounds like it should be canceled. The 11 a.m. isn't what scares me. It's everything after 12 that scares me for that potential. Robert, 8 inches St. Mary. I don't know about that. That's lofty. That's lofty. I probably wouldn't go that high. And Terry, I'm glad that you like this. I'm glad that me nerding out a little bit is enjoyable for at least some of you. Let's see. What if it tracks Cape Hatteras to the north? Wesley, come on. You know the answer to that. I can go over it, though. You might be asking for other people's sake, though. So if we even throw it back to last night's live, and those of you that, always watch, we talked about this. Those are those loyal JB Weather followers, right? And I said this a lot last week too. My Goldilocks track for Southern Maryland snow, we're out here, and it needs to be heading out to sea. It can't track like that, it needs to be heading out to sea, right? So this storm, let's see, its center forms out here, and it tracks something like this. That's not a bad not a bad track for snow lovers here. It's better than what we have right now. That's not an awesome setup. That would put the heaviest snow likely in this region, and that then puts us right in that corridor for mixing. But a little bit more snow out of that, but This was a bigger question yesterday. We've kind of narrowed this down a little bit more. The window we're looking at initially was about that big. Was the storm going to track off the coast or more inland near I-81? I think we're kind of honing in on this storm making a track here right up along I-95. That's going to be coming up, and I think it bends, right, and then turns back north. I think it takes a track that's a little bit more like that. That would be my guess, though, but we're still 3 days out, so I'm sure that'll be wrong. Let's see. My son is leaving Texas tomorrow and headed to Southern Maryland. When is the best time for him to get out of Tennessee Saturday into Virginia? What we can do to answer your question, Alicia? Yeah. Let me bring up Futurecast here for you. Let's time it out. Let's take you on over here towards Tennessee. We see Nashville, Memphis. I would imagine he's probably flying into one of those locations. Let me bring you on over to reflectivity. I want to turn off the wind field, though. That gets just too messy when we're not looking at actual winds. And I think it needs to load here. It shouldn't need to. Nashville, yeah, this starts to move in likely after lunchtime on Saturday. So I would say, and I don't know how much you can control this flight, but you really want to be up in the air out of Nashville, Memphis, Knoxville by like lunchtime to early afternoon. And yeah, no school Monday. My semester starts Tuesday, and maybe we can push that off an extra day if we can get some good snows up here. Yeah, and Catherine, it would be nice if this was snow instead of rain down in Southern Maryland. See, JB is supposed to be looking for an ice storm. Ruth wants to know. I don't think so. I want to see if the Weather Prediction Center has their ice accumulation potential out. Not for our neck of the woods, but what this does show you, where you see these brightest pinks, and it kind of correlates here to the graphic. This is over the next 72 hours where you're looking at the heaviest or the highest freezing rain threat that could lead to a glaze of ice. The light pink is a glaze. This medium pink here is like a tenth of an inch or so, where this darker pink is a little bit closer to a quarter of an inch of bigger impacts. That's how this model has the National Weather Service is kind of pinpointing this. If we look at the biggest extent, though, oh, look at that. It's a huge ice event down here towards Charlotte and Columbia. Even in the worst case scenario, the National Weather Service doesn't think it gets up into our region. So as things stand right now, I'm not overly concerned with that potential, but it is something to keep in mind. So we'll begin in Southern Maryland. I wouldn't say Sunday morning. Probably after lunchtime Sunday. But yeah, probably a period of snow. Yeah, I mean, Daresby, all of those coastal areas, the last thing you need are gusty winds. Let's see, would it be safe to go to Richmond, Virginia Sunday? No. No. If I bring it back over here, let's get the model loaded back up. I mean, you need to get there earlier in the morning. Let me load the loop back up here. And we bring it back. So this is Sunday before sunrise. But this looks to get going just after sunrise, near 9, 10 o'clock down here in the Richmond area, according to our model. If it's a little later, maybe we're talking more like a 12 or a 1 o'clock start down here. But unless you're getting down there by like 9 or 10, I wouldn't advise it by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, that's just kind of a general look at what we're talking about with this. Yeah, so that is that, and I think that just about covers up most of our questions right now. Let's see, is travel to Waldorf from Lexington Park going to be safe on Monday? Heather, you should be fine Monday. Let me bring Futurecast out here. I mean, even like if you're going at 2, you should be fine. I mean, maybe some back end snow flurries, but most of Monday is looking fine in our region. See, is there still time for it to shift way east? Yeah, I mean, Diane, so when we think back to last Monday's storm, 3 days in advance, of that storm, so that was Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday. I don't know, Friday/Saturday. My snowfall forecast for our region was half an inch of snow. Like it was a half an inch to an inch of snow in Huntingtown. So yeah, there's definitely time for things to move around. I don't think a drastic shift to the point where we're looking at high snowfall totals in southern Maryland is likely. The way I think is the most likely for you to get those high snowfall totals in our region is if you can channel that cold air in our region long enough to keep us as snow as long as possible. And our model, I mean, it tries to do that. It has snow starting at 12 and doesn't bring much of our region over to rain until 6. And even at that point, it's not even until 9 until it gets it up northwest of DC. So if you have 6 to 9 hours of light to moderate snowfall, sure, you could definitely pile up a couple of inches. You extend that a little more, you get some higher precip rates, you could be looking at a little more. And yeah, Nancy, Lexington Park. Yeah, you see it right now, Lexington Park with the rain. This is probably a better graphic to show you, though. Some snow in southern Maryland, probably a couple to maybe a few hours of snow that goes over to a mix and then rain. How will it be on my road if I drive to? Oh, Vicky, I don't know. I don't know what you're saying. Yeah, so that's just kind of a general look. Yes, and Catherine, yeah, you would need to hold on to these colder temps. I can show you. I'll get it loaded here. Let me get temperatures loaded up here. I want to get that loop loaded. That's going to go crazy for a second. So Saturday night, 7 o'clock, I mean, we're sitting in the 20s. If we push this forward here, you can see 10, 1 a.m. You start to see those purples creeping. Those are teens north of DC. We're getting down into the lower 20s. Sunrise on Sunday, we're sitting right around 23 in Lexington Park. But then you can see as the storm pushes up, we see this warmer air represented here by those brighter colors, those greens, bright blues pushing northward. And that will inevitably happen. How long that takes to happen is a question. By 4 o'clock, we're holding at 33, but look what happens as that storm really gets going. I mean, we can see we go up to 43. So our high, oh, I'm not even showing you all. My apologies. I need to switch on over here. Here we go. Yes, Saturday night, we start this off. We're sitting in the lower 20s. And I'll just move quickly here. Sunday morning, we're sitting in the low 20s. But then, again, this warmer air will punch northwestward from the southeast eventually to where we're getting up into the 40s here. You can see topping off here towards 44. You're even getting up near freezing on over towards Frederick. So our high temperature on Sunday likely will happen right around midnight. But then behind this system, the cold air wraps in on the back side of it. And then the question is, how long does that stay? But look at all this. I mean, the warm air feed off of this, I mean, it's in the 70s down across parts of the open Atlantic. That's the warm and moist air that this is going to be tapping into. And sorry if you hear the dog downstairs barking. Ugh. Just wondering about the temps now and then again Monday night. Yeah, so the temperatures are going to be the main reason we're going to be switching over here to snow and then from snow to mix then to rain. But I do think Sunday night going into Monday, you could be looking at a refreeze if that cold air wraps in quick enough. Sister lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, and yeah, so Brittany, you're likely looking at like a 3 to 5, 3 to 6 inch snow down towards Charlotte that then goes over to ice that could be up to a quarter inch. So we're looking at a hefty winter storm, their biggest in several years. And yeah, and they're under a winter storm watch. I would tell you to let her know to follow Brad Panovich, Panboich. He's a weather guru down there. I got started in the weather game back in 2013, and since then I've always looked at his information. I mean, he does really great reporting down there, so I would definitely tell her to give him a look. Yeah, Front Royal, you're likely looking at, you got the potential for some double-digit snowfalls. Monday morning flight out of BWI, you could probably make that happen depending on when that flight is. If it's pre-dawn, you might have a couple of issues, but I think if it's after sunrise, by and large, you should be fine leaving. You might see a delay, though, if you're traveling to the northeast. If you're traveling south or west, you should be fine. But if you're traveling into PA, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, though you would look at a delay, but because of weather up there, not so much in our region. But yeah, that is that. So, where are we headed from here? Tomorrow, my first call map will be out. I might try to get that out in the morning. Actually, no. I think what we're going to be rocking with is, well, I'll try to get that out between 12 and 3 o'clock tomorrow. That first call forecast. And what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to detail. You're going to see this map, the precip types. You're also going to see a snowfall forecast map, an ice forecast map, and this is going to be for the Mid-Atlantic as a whole and our local region. So you'll see those hyper local maps I normally use that are zoomed in our region on what you can see. But for our Mid-Atlantic followers, because we have followers well outside of Southern Maryland that are in PA, Virginia, North Carolina, I'll have a more zoomed out map to show generally what this storm looks like. So we'll use snow maps, ice maps, rain maps, wind gust maps, highest impact maps. We'll do all of it. Karen, Richmond on Sunday morning. That precip likely moves in between sunrise and lunchtime down there. That's likely when that snow starts. How much coffee do I drink? Oh, the last winter storm, I didn't have nearly enough, right? Because I was down in Prince Frederick, and I didn't bring K-cups or my creamer with me. My room did have a Keurig though, so I had maybe one cup of coffee during breakfast hours on Sunday. During a normal storm, and it really depends on the storm. If the storm is like, typically they get started right after like 2. I'm normally rocking 3, 4, maybe sometimes 5 cups of coffee. Is it the best? No. But what I do, and I don't do it with every cup, and this is just like what I do, is I'll mix in my protein powder into it. It dissolves. It doesn't give it any extra taste. So to make it at least somewhat, not that coffee is healthy, but it gives at least a little added health benefit. So, oh, Carol, I wouldn't say that it won't be bad. Will we see a lot of snow? No. This is what's going to make it bad, though. Those onshore winds. And I'll detail this a lot more tomorrow. The details on this are really just kind of coming into focus. And it'll come more into focus tomorrow and on Saturday. But I think the biggest impact from this system is going to be those gusty winds. And I think we could be looking at I wouldn't say widespread outages, but I think scattered outages are a fair call here. And when you got 30 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts, Smeco crews can't work within that because it's too windy for them to go up, right? So I think this will be the biggest story. Yeah, Cassie, those outages are definitely, they could be, they could. I don't know if they'll be as extreme as Monday, but I think especially on over towards the eastern shore, though, you could be looking at a decent amount of outages. So, yeah, but that is where we're going. First call is going to be issued tomorrow. We'll do another one of these lives tomorrow night at 7. The lives will Saturday night at 7, and then we'll probably start coverage on Sunday right around noon. And then that'll go throughout the afternoon into the evening and then into Monday morning. And it's funny that this storm is happening when it is, because Monday is literally my last day of winter break. So it's really the last time I'm able to easily work into my schedule storm coverage. My classes are Tuesdays and Thursdays, so the ideal situation for us is for a winter storm to happen sometime, most ideally on a Monday, because that gives me all day Friday, Saturday, Sunday to track. But yeah, that's kind of our game plan. So first call tomorrow between 12 and 3. Final call sometime on Saturday. I would issue it on Sunday, but Sunday is game day, so we're going to get it up before that. Yeah, Sandy, I was in a hotel. Yeah, I was up there in Prince Frederick, and the room rates weren't bad. And it's funny, I think a couple of well, the one receptionist boy that was there, he was like, "Do you do a?" I just finished up one of my lives that was I was doing out in the hotel parking lot. Um, and I came back in, and he was like, "Do you do a live stream?" And I was like, "Oh, this guy like watched me." And this is something. I become a little bit humbler in person, right? So like I'm not good at small talk. Like I'm good at in-depth conversations like this, but I suck at small talk. And so it was like, did you do a live stream? I'm like, oh, he probably just watched. I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, you're JB. I was like, yeah. And he's like, my mom loves you. And I like took a picture with the kid. It was awesome. And then the woman receptionist that was there most of that day, she saw me coming down every hour. She'd go outside with me. I do my live update, take the snow measurement. It was fun. I liked it. And thank you, I appreciate it. It's my last academic semester. I'm so much looking forward to this. It's my last semester with classes. I only have 4 classes this semester, which is nice. Um, and then the fall, it's student teaching. And the more I think of it, it's probably better that I'm student teaching in the fall than this semester when I should have. Because if I was trying to do this stuff with student teaching starting to, no. And not to minimize our weather, but the weather is pretty boring in Southern Maryland between the months of like September and November. So yeah, Catherine, people can definitely, um, yeah, people can definitely, say hey to me in person, and I'll talk to you. Just know that I can become really, uh, but yeah. So and that's just me. I like to think I'm pretty extroverted. But it's just like when I'm like, it's just I'm not that good at small talk. And I think that's just a facet of me. Granted, I'm pretty friendly, I like to think, and I can definitely talk to you. Um, but it's the worst when like the other person doesn't know what to say. I don't know. We're definitely kind of off track here from the winter storm into what kind of personality type I have. Yeah, the student teaching is gonna. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it being in the spring, and that I graduate in December. Um, which that allows me next winter. And next winter, I think, should be a little better than this winter. And this winter's already kind of good. That allows me next winter um, to really focus on the weather. The chances of me finding a full time teaching position are much higher, like going into a school year than in the middle of a school year. So that allows me the chance to focus on the weather after graduation, and then in the spring to focus on like substitute teaching and then going on teaching interviews. So that's like my game plan, but but yeah, so now you all know my personality type and my like whole plans for the next year and a half. But yeah, so that's just about everything we have. We're now approaching an hour on air, just over 48 minutes. So we're going to wrap this up. We have new model data, and actually, what I can do quick for those of you that have stuck around this long, we can look over the newest model data together because the newest European model likely has finished, and it looks like it indeed has. Um, and I was waiting. This started coming in right when we went live. And we can show you the ocean storm that our storm kind of dives down here. So this is Saturday. So we were asking earlier about what's going on in Tennessee. This is Saturday at 1 p.m. That's when that precip is starting. And for those of you asking about the Carolinas, look at this. You got that snow starting out here 4 a.m. on Sunday, or likely just after midnight Saturday or Sunday, with ice developing down to the south. Oof. And our newest model, yeah, it really kind of piles up that ice amount. That's a lot of ice. Oh, wow. And this European model is actually pretty far east. So, Catherine, I know you're still watching. This model here is pretty good for you for snow. Definitely isn't bad. It keeps us at snow for, let's see, we started, let's just call it 1 o'clock, for almost like 10 hours. That would be a good trend, and that would definitely increase our snowfall forecast. And if we were to look at, I won't put the numbers up, but by precip type. So I'll show you so this model kind of breaks down what you would see. Where you see the brightest purples here, that would be your heaviest snow. So it still places your heaviest snow out here from the mountains up along I-81, but it gets some appreciable snowfall down into our region. You still got some light purples. But what I do want to show you, sleet won't really be an issue. That these are those orange shadings, not really an issue. Freezing rain, not really an issue. However, you see that all that bright pink down there in North Carolina? If I come down here to the southeast and we come over here to winter, I want to actually, I think it might be easier if I show you the Carolinas. I think they have a state map for that. Maybe not. South Carolina, does that show you most of this? Yeah, for the most part. Freezing rain total, this model, this is putting down up over half an inch. I mean, here is Charlotte. Here's generally Raleigh, Columbia. This is putting upwards between 0.5 and 1 inch of pure ice. That is an all-out ice storm. And I think it's very I mean, you might get more like winter storm warnings out into this region because you're looking at snow and ice, but down into this region right in here, you're likely looking at an ice storm. Now, the reason we likely won't have to deal with that is because these inland areas aren't contending with an onshore wind off of the ocean where we are. So that will help to transition us over to rain a lot quicker. We're out here. They don't have that at all. So yes, and I knew Catherine was still watching. So yeah, so we'll see. You know, again, that latest run of the European definitely wasn't bad. But we're going to wrap this up. I need to look over some of the latest data. I need to get some evening work done, get to bed, and then tomorrow morning we will start this all over again. So stay safe. Thank you all for joining me this evening. And we'll talk again soon. Wait, let's see. Summerville, South Carolina, quickly. Carol, I'm actually not sure where Summerville is. Let me bring that up, and then we will wrap things up. Summerville, South Carolina. Let's see. Summerville, I want maps. You might be a little too far. No, actually, Summerville, you're probably just looking at rain. Yeah, and Catherine, down there, the ground is definitely going to be freezing cold. In our region, the ground will be cold initially, but it too will warm up. But, yes, but that is everything. So again, we'll talk again tomorrow, same time, same place. Tomorrow evening, we'll be going over my first call forecast. That'll be posted up on the website between lunchtime and 3 tomorrow, hopefully. And we'll see if our web server can handle the increased traffic. I'll be making phone calls tomorrow morning to our web hoster because I am not pleased with the fact that we have so many issues with it. And Melissa quickly wants to know about Pittsburgh. You're probably looking at healthy snow, probably over half a foot out there. But we'll talk again tomorrow. Have a nice and safe one, everyone. And please keep it tuned right here to JB Weather for the latest information.
Check the forecast anytime online at jbweather.net.